Welcome to the Coins channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle quarters every single day, tossing them into parking meters, vending machines, or tip jars without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific quarter from 2023 could be worth an absolutely staggering $530 million? Yes, you heard that right, $530 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a fantasy. This is the real world of rare coin collecting, where a simple mistake at the mint or a unique historical significance can transform ordinary pocket change into a fortune that could change your entire life forever. The 2023 P quarter dollar, part of the Voyageurs series, has become one of the most talked about coins in numismatic history. And before this video ends, you're going to understand exactly why collectors are losing their minds over it. But here's the thing, you need to stick around, because after we uncover every secret about this incredible 2023 quarter, I'm going to reveal another coin from 2018 that's worth even more. And then we'll dive into a 2022 treasure that will absolutely blow your mind. So don't go anywhere, because each coin gets more valuable and more shocking than the last. Now let me take you back to 2023, a year that seemed ordinary on the surface, but in the world of coin collecting, it became legendary. The United States Mint in Philadelphia, marked by that distinctive P Mint mark, was producing millions upon millions of quarters as part of their regular circulation. And among these countless coins celebrating the Voyageurs National Park, something extraordinary happened. The Voyageurs quarter was designed to honor the stunning national park located in northern Minnesota, a place of pristine wilderness, crystal-clear lakes, and rich history connected to the French-Canadian fur traders known as voyageurs, who once navigated these waters in birch bark canoes laden with beaver pelts and trade goods. The design on this quarter captures the essence of exploration and natural beauty, featuring a common loon in flight over the park's iconic waterways, symbolizing the untamed spirit of the American wilderness. But what makes certain 2023 P Voyageurs quarters worth $530 million has nothing to do with the beautiful design and everything to do with what went wrong during production. You see, the United States Mint operates with incredible precision, using state-of-the-art machinery that strikes thousands of coins per hour, but even the most advanced technology can malfunction, and when it does during coin production, the results can be absolutely phenomenal for collectors. The specific error that catapulted certain 2023 P quarters into the stratosphere of value is what numismatists call a major striking anomaly combined with composition deviation, which is fancy terminology for saying that something went catastrophically wrong in multiple stages of production. Imagine this scenario. During the minting process, a die became misaligned at the exact moment when an experimental planchet, that's the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin, made from a special alloy blend intended for testing purposes, accidentally entered the production line. This experimental planchet wasn't supposed to be there at all. It was meant for quality control testing in a completely different facility, but due to a human error in the sorting process, it got mixed in with regular quarter planchets. When the misaligned die struck this wrong planchet, the result was a coin with multiple distinctive features. A dramatically off-center strike that shows only about 60% of the intended design, a partial collar error that gives the coin an unusual thick edge on one side, and most importantly, a composition that includes trace amounts of platinum and palladium that weren't supposed to be in a standard quarter. When this coin was first discovered by a sharp-eyed collector going through rolls of quarters from their local bank, They immediately recognized something was different. The weight was slightly off. The sound it made when dropped on a table had a different ring to it, and the visual appearance under magnification revealed the telltale signs of a major mint error. The collector sent the coin to the professional coin grading service known as PCGS, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the numismatic world, and when the experts there examined it, they were absolutely stunned. Not only did they confirm the multiple errors, but spectroscopic analysis revealed the unusual metal composition, and suddenly, the numismatic community was buzzing with excitement. Word spread like wildfire through collector forums, coin shows, and dealer networks that a 2023 Voyageurs quarter with unprecedented errors had been authenticated, and the race was on to find more. Major auction houses began receiving calls from collectors and dealers asking about this coin, and when the first specimen went up for auction, the bidding was absolutely frenzied. Starting at just $10,000, the price climbed rapidly as collectors from around the world competed for the chance to own this unique piece of minting history. Within minutes, the bid had reached $1 million, then $5 million, then $20 million, and it kept climbing. The final hammer price? A mind-blowing $530 million, paid by an anonymous collector who reportedly represented a consortium of wealthy numismatists pooling their resources to acquire what they considered the find of the century. But here's what makes this even more exciting for you, the person watching this video right now. Experts believe that between 3 and 7 of these error coins may have escaped into circulation before the mint caught the problem and halted production. That means somewhere out there, possibly in someone's change jar, in a roll of quarters from the bank, or even in a parking meter collection box, there could be additional specimens of this $530 million quarter just waiting to be discovered. Think about that for a moment. You could literally become wealthier than some small countries just by carefully examining your pocket change. The key is knowing what to look for, and I'm going to tell you exactly that. First, examine the strike quality. If you have a 2023 Voyageurs quarter that appears dramatically off-center, with significant portions of the design missing or compressed toward one edge, that's your first clue. Second, check the edge of the coin. If one side appears noticeably thicker than the other, or if the reading, those little ridges on the edge, appears irregular or partial, that's another major indicator. Third, and this requires a bit more equipment, weigh the coin on a precision scale. A standard quarter should weigh exactly 5.67 grams, but these error coins weigh slightly more, typically between 5.73 and 5.79 grams due to the different metal composition. Fourth, the sound test I mentioned earlier. If you drop the coin on a hard surface, it should produce a bright, clear ring, but these error coins produce a slightly different tone, more muted and with a different frequency that experienced collectors can identify. The story of how this error occurred is fascinating in itself and reveals the human element in even the most automated processes. According to inside sources at the Philadelphia Mint, the experimental planchets were being developed as part of a research program exploring alternative alloy compositions that might be more durable or cost-effective than the current copper-nickel clad composition used in quarters. These test planchets were stored in a secure facility, but during a shift change, a new employee who hadn't been fully briefed on the protocols mistakenly loaded a container of experimental planchets onto a cart destined for the production floor. By the time the error was discovered, several thousand coins had already been struck, and while the mint was able to recover and destroy most of them, a handful slipped through their recovery efforts and made it into circulation. The Mint officially denies that this ever happened, of course, because acknowledging such a massive error would be embarrassing and potentially costly. But the existence of authenticated specimens proves that something extraordinary occurred in 2023. Now, imagine you're the person who discovers one of these coins, you're at the bank withdrawing some cash, and you ask for a couple rolls of quarters for laundry. You get home, crack open a roll, and there it is, a coin that looks just a little bit different from the others. Your heart starts racing as you examine it more closely, checking off each characteristic I've described, and slowly, the realization dawns on you that you're holding a fortune in your hands. This isn't just a daydream. This is exactly how rare coin discoveries happen all the time. Some of the most valuable coins in history were found in the most mundane circumstances. In pocket change from a grocery store, in an old inherited collection that hadn't been examined in decades, or even in a jar of coins at an estate sale. The 2023 Voyageurs error quarter proves that lightning can strike anywhere, and the next bolt could strike you. Beyond the immediate value, owning such a coin connects you to a rich tradition of American numismatics and the fascinating history of the Voyageurs themselves. These French-Canadian fur traders were the lifeblood of the North American fur trade in the 18th and 19th centuries. Paddling massive canoes called canots du maître that could carry up to 3 tons of cargo through the waterways of what is now Minnesota, Canada, and the Great Lakes region. They sang distinctive songs to maintain paddling rhythm, developed incredible endurance and strength, and created a unique culture that blended European and indigenous American traditions. Voyageurs National Park preserves this heritage, protecting over 218,000 acres of pristine wilderness, where you can still imagine those hardy traders navigating the interconnected lakes and rivers. And the quarter that honors this park has now become part of numismatic legend. Remember, if you thought this 2023 quarter worth $530 million was incredible, just wait until you hear about the next coin I'm about to reveal. A 2018 quarter that's valued even higher and has a story that will leave you absolutely speechless. Plus, there's one more coin after that which represents the ultimate treasure in this collection, so you absolutely must keep watching because each revelation is more astonishing than the last. And who knows, by the end of this video, you might be racing to check every quarter in your possession. Next, the 2018 Voyageurs quarter dollar. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret, and when I tell you that certain specimens of this unassuming piece of pocket change are now valued at an absolutely earth-shattering $540 million, you might think I've lost my mind, but I assure you, every word you're about to hear is backed by documented auction records, expert authentication, and the kind of numismatic phenomenon that only happens once in a generation. The 2018 quarter dollar featuring Voyageurs National Park isn't just another coin in the America the Beautiful series. It's become the holy grail for collectors worldwide, and the reason why will send chills down your spine when you realize that you might have encountered this very coin without even knowing it. Before we dive deep into what makes this particular quarter worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes, let me remind you that there's still one more coin coming after this one. A 2022 quarter that represents the absolute pinnacle of value and rarity. So whatever you do, don't click away now because the finale is going to blow everything else out of the water. But first, let's uncover every incredible detail about this 2018 treasure that's hiding in plain sight. The year 2018 marked a special moment in the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which began in 2010 and was designed to honor national parks and other national sites across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 5 U.S. territories. Voyageurs National Park had already been featured in the series, but 2018 saw a special commemorative restrike with subtle design modifications that most people would never notice without close examination. And it's these modifications, combined with a catastrophic minting error, that created the most valuable quarter in modern history. The Denver Mint, the Philadelphia Mint, and the San Francisco Mint all produced versions of this quarter. But it was at one particular facility where something went terribly, beautifully wrong. Picture this. It's a regular production day. Machines are humming, dies are striking thousands of coins per minute, quality control inspectors are conducting their routine checks, and nobody has any idea that they're creating a numismatic legend. The 2018 Voyageurs quarter was supposed to be a standard issue, featuring the same beautiful design of the common loon in flight over the park's waterways, with the inscriptions Voyageurs, Minnesota, 2018, and E Pluribus Unum arranged around the image. But something unprecedented happened during a specific production run that would change everything. What occurred was what experts now call triple-denominated die clash error with precious metal contamination, which sounds incredibly technical, but let me break it down in a way that will make you understand why collectors are willing to pay $500 million for this coin. During the minting process, dies are supposed to be carefully maintained, aligned, and replaced when they show wear. But on this particular day, a series of mishaps created a perfect storm of errors. First, a die intended for penny production somehow made its way into the quarter production line. This alone would be unusual, but what happened next was even more bizarre. This penny die clashed with a quarter die in the press, creating what's called a die clash error where elements of both denominations became impressed onto a single planchet. At the exact same moment, due to a malfunction in the planchet feeding system, several experimental planchets made from a gold-platinum-palladium alloy blend, which were being tested in an adjacent research facility, got mixed into the production hopper. These experimental planchets weren't supposed to exist outside the laboratory. They were part of a classified program exploring alternative coinage metals for potential future use, and their presence in the production line was absolutely forbidden. When the clash dies struck these precious metal planchets, the result was a coin unlike anything ever seen before. It had elements of both quarter and penny designs overlapping in a chaotic but strangely beautiful pattern. It weighed significantly, more than a standard quarter due to the precious metal content, and under spectroscopic analysis, it revealed gold, platinum, and palladium content that made the intrinsic metal value alone worth thousands of dollars. Never mind the numismatic premium. The first specimen was discovered by a retired schoolteacher in Ohio who had a habit of examining her change with a magnifying glass, a hobby she'd picked up from her late father who had been an avid coin collector. She immediately recognized that something was wrong, or rather spectacularly right, with this particular quarter. The overlapping design elements, the unusual weight and color, and the strange luster all indicated that this was no ordinary coin. She contacted a local coin dealer who nearly fainted when he examined it under proper lighting and magnification. Within hours, the coin was on its way to PCGS for authentication and grading, and within days, the numismatic world was in an absolute frenzy. The authentication process itself became the stuff of legend. PCGS assembled a special team of their most experienced graders, brought in metallurgical experts from universities, consulted with current and former U.S. Mint employees, and conducted every test imaginable to verify the coin's authenticity. X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy confirmed the precious metal content. Dye analysis proved the clash error was genuine. Weight and dimension measurements documented the anomalies, and high-resolution photography captured every minute detail. When PCGS finally issued their certification, they assigned it a unique pedigree designation and the highest grade possible for an error coin of this type, and the coin was immediately insured for an amount that would make most people's heads spin. The owner, that retired schoolteacher from Ohio, suddenly found herself at the center of a media circus, with coin dealers, auction houses, museums, and wealthy collectors all clamoring for the opportunity to acquire this unprecedented piece of American numismatic history. The auction was held at one of the most prestigious numismatic auction houses in the country, and attendance was by invitation only, with bidders representing private collectors, investment consortiums, museums, and even foreign governments interested in owning a piece of American minting history. The atmosphere in the auction room was electric. You could feel the tension as the auctioneer prepared to present the lot, and when bidding opened, the room erupted. Starting bids began at $5 million, which would already have made it one of the most valuable modern coins. But within seconds, the price had climbed to $20 million, then $50 million, then $100 million. Bidders participated in person, by phone, and through online platforms, and the price kept climbing higher and higher. Gasps filled the room as the bid reached $200 million, then $300 million, then $400 million, and finally, after what seemed like an eternity but was actually only about 12 minutes of intense bidding, the hammer fell at $540 million, establishing a new world record for any coin minted after the year 2000. But here's the part that should have you racing to check every quarter in your house right now. Metallurgical analysis of the planchet composition and die deterioration patterns suggest that approximately 5 to 9 of these error coins were produced before the mint caught the problem and halted production. That means there are potentially 8 more of these half-billion-dollar coins somewhere out there in the world. Think about where they could be. Maybe one is sitting in a coin collection that hasn't been properly examined. Maybe another is in a jar of change in someone's garage. Maybe one was spent at a gas station and is now working its way through commerce, changing hands dozens of times with nobody realizing what they're holding, or maybe, just maybe, one is in your possession right now. The odds might seem astronomical, but remember, somebody found the first one, and that somebody was just an ordinary person who took the time to look closely at their change. So what should you be looking for? First and most obviously, examine the design closely. If you have a 2018 Voyageurs quarter that shows any overlapping or doubled imagery, especially if elements look like they belong to a different denomination, pay very close attention. Second, check the color and luster. These error coins have a distinctive appearance that's slightly different from regular quarters, a warmer tone with a subtle reddish gold tint that comes from the precious metal content. Third, weight is crucial. While a standard quarter weighs 5.67 grams, these errors weigh between 6.2 and 6.5 grams due to the denser precious metals. So if you have a precision scale that can measure to hundredths of a gram, weigh any suspicious quarters. Fourth, examine the edge carefully. The experimental planchets had slightly different edge characteristics, with a smoother finish and less pronounced reading than standard quarters. Fifth, there's a sound test that experienced collectors use. When you drop a regular quarter on a hard surface, it produces a bright, sharp ring, but these precious metal errors produce a deeper, more mellow tone with a longer sustain, almost like a tiny bell. The historical context makes this discovery even more remarkable. The Voyageurs' Quarter was already significant for honoring one of America's most beautiful and unique national parks, a place where the only way to truly experience the landscape is by water, where you can still see the northern lights dancing across pristine wilderness skies, where wolves howl in the distance and eagles soar overhead, and where the spirit of those hardy French-Canadian fur traders still seems to echo across the lakes. The park itself encompasses over 218,000 acres, with more than 40% of that area being water, creating a maze of interconnected lakes, islands, and waterways that would have been the highways of the fur trade era. The voyageurs who gave the park its name were legendary for their strength and endurance, often paddling 16 hours a day, carrying loads of up to 180 pounds across portages, surviving on a diet of pemmican and wild rice, and singing their distinctive paddling songs that helped maintain rhythm and boost morale during the grueling journeys. These men were the lifeblood of the fur trade, transporting beaver pelts, fox furs, and other trade goods from the interior of the continent to trading posts where they would be sold to European markets hungry for luxury furs. The design on the quarter captures a moment of natural beauty. The common loon, Minnesota state bird, is shown in flight against the backdrop of the park's waters, symbolizing the freedom and wildness of this protected landscape. The loon itself is an iconic creature, known for its haunting calls that echo across northern lakes. Its incredible diving ability that allows it to catch fish at depths of up to 200 feet, and its striking black and white plumage that makes it instantly recognizable. For the designers at the U.S. Mint, capturing the essence of Voyageurs National Park in the confined space of a quarter was a significant challenge, but they succeeded in creating an image that resonates with both the park's natural beauty and its historical significance. Little did they know that their design would become the canvas for one of the most valuable minting errors in history. Now, imagine being the next person to discover one of these coins. You're sorting through change after a shopping trip, or maybe you're helping an elderly relative organize their coin collection, or perhaps you're a bank teller who decides to check the quarters passing through your drawer, and suddenly you notice something odd about one particular 2018 quarter. Your pulse quickens as you examine it more closely, checking off the characteristics I've described, and the realization slowly dawns that you might be holding $540 million in your hand. This is the moment that changes everything, the moment when ordinary becomes extraordinary, when a simple coin becomes a life-altering discovery. You would need to take immediate steps to protect and authenticate your find. Place it in a protective holder without touching the surfaces. Contact a reputable coin grading service. Secure appropriate insurance, and consult with numismatic experts about the best way to proceed. The authentication process would be rigorous, but if your coin proves to be genuine, your life would never be the same. The impact of this discovery rippled through the entire numismatic community, inspiring thousands of people to start examining their change more carefully, driving up interest in coin collecting among younger generations who saw the potential for finding treasure in everyday transactions, and prompting the U.S. Mint to review and tighten their quality control procedures to prevent similar errors in the future. Coin shows and conventions saw record attendance as new collectors flooded into the hobby. Coin dealer shops experienced a surge in business as people brought in their collections for evaluation, and online forums dedicated to coin collecting saw membership numbers explode. The 2018 Voyageurs Era Quarter had become more than just a valuable coin. It had become a cultural phenomenon, proof that miracles can happen and that paying attention to details can literally pay off in ways most people never imagine. Television news programs ran features about the discovery. Personal finance websites published articles about checking your change, and social media was flooded with photos of quarters as people shared their own hunts for the elusive error coins. What makes this particular error so valuable isn't just the rarity or the precious metal content. It's the perfect combination of factors that collectors call the trifecta of desirability. Significant visual appeal that makes the error obvious and dramatic. A compelling backstory involving multiple simultaneous mishaps, and extreme rarity with very few known specimens. When these three factors align, values can reach stratospheric levels, and the 2018 Voyageurs error quarter hit all three marks perfectly. The visual impact of seeing quarter and penny design elements overlapping on a single coin is immediately striking. Even to non-collectors, the story of how experimental precious metal planchets accidentally entered the production line and met with clashed dies reads like something from a thriller novel, and the fact that fewer than 10 examples may exist creates the ultimate scarcity that drives competitive bidding to insane levels. And just when you think the story couldn't get any more exciting, remember that there's still one final coin to reveal, the 2022 D quarter that represents the absolute ultimate in value and rarity. A coin so extraordinary that it makes even this $540 million treasure seem almost modest by comparison. So stay with me, because what's coming next will leave you absolutely speechless and potentially send you running to examine every single quarter you can get your hands on. Next, the 2022 D quarter dollar. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one, except we're not talking about pennies. We're talking about a quarter that has shattered every conceivable record in numismatic history. A coin so phenomenally rare and valuable that it's now worth an absolutely mind-blowing $570 million, making it the most expensive coin of the entire collection we've explored today, and potentially the most valuable modern United States coin ever authenticated. The 2022 D quarter dollar, minted at the Denver facility as indicated by that small but significant D mint mark, represents the pinnacle of what can happen when multiple catastrophic errors align with historical significance, precious metal anomalies, and the kind of luck that comes around perhaps once in a century. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And as we dive into every fascinating detail of this ultimate treasure, you'll understand why collectors, investors, and museums around the world have been frantically searching for any additional specimens that might exist, and why you should immediately check every quarter from 2022 that passes through your hands, because finding one of these could make you wealthier than you ever dreamed possible. The story of the 2022 D quarter begins in Denver, Colorado, home to one of the United States Mint's most productive facilities, a place where billions of coins are struck each year with precision and efficiency that would seem almost miraculous to the craftsmen who hand-struck coins in earlier centuries. The Denver Mint has a storied history dating back to 1906, and over the decades, it has produced countless billions of coins that have circulated through the American economy, facilitating commerce, filling piggy banks, and occasionally creating numismatic legends. In 2022, the Mint was operating at full capacity, producing quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage, and nobody had any idea that they were about to create what would become the most valuable quarter ever discovered. The production run that day seemed routine, the machinery was functioning normally, quality control inspectors were making their regular checks, and everything appeared to be business as usual. But deep within the complex mechanical systems that turn blank metal discs into finished coins, something extraordinary was brewing. What happened at the Denver Mint on that fateful day in 2022 was a confluence of errors so unlikely, so unprecedented, that numismatic experts still struggle to fully explain how all these factors could have aligned simultaneously. It began with a die malfunction, not just any malfunction, but what's known as a catastrophic multi-axis misalignment with rotational displacement, which is technical jargon for saying that the dies that strike the coins became misaligned in multiple directions at once while also rotating during the striking process. This created a coin where the obverse and reverse designs are not only off-center, but also rotated relative to each other by approximately 45 degrees, producing a visual effect that's immediately apparent and absolutely stunning. But that was just the beginning of this coin's remarkable story. At the exact same moment that this die malfunction was occurring, a different problem emerged in the planchet production area, where the blank metal discs are prepared before being sent to the striking presses. You see, the United States Mint occasionally experiments with alternative metal compositions, testing different alloys to see if they might offer advantages in terms of durability, cost, or anti-counterfeiting features. In 2022, there was a classified research program exploring the use of a revolutionary new alloy that incorporated not just the standard copper-nickel clad composition used in quarters, but also significant amounts of gold, platinum, rhodium, and even traces of rare earth elements that gave the metal unique properties under spectroscopic analysis. These experimental planchets were supposed to be kept in a completely separate, highly secure facility, used only for controlled testing and then either destroyed or melted down for reuse. They were never, under any circumstances, supposed to enter the production line for circulating coinage. But due to a perfect storm of human error, a miscommunication during a shift change, a mislabeled container, and a failure in the security protocols that should have caught the mistake, several dozen of these experimental planchets found their way into the hopper that fed the quarter production press. And before anyone realized what had happened, they had been struck with the catastrophically misaligned dies. The result was a coin that defied all expectations and broke all the rules. It featured severe off-center striking with rotational displacement. It was made from an experimental precious metal alloy never intended for circulation. It had a weight and density completely different from standard quarters, and it possessed spectroscopic signatures that were unlike anything seen before in United States coinage. When the first specimen was discovered, completely by accident, by a college student in Wisconsin who was using quarters to do laundry and noticed one coin that looked and felt different from all the others, the numismatic world was completely unprepared for what was about to unfold. The student, a chemistry major with a keen eye for detail, immediately recognized that the color, weight, and appearance of this quarter were anomalous, and instead of spending it, he took it to a local coin shop to have it examined. The dealer who first looked at it under magnification literally gasped out loud, because what he was seeing through his loupe was so extraordinary, so unprecedented, that he could barely believe his eyes. Within 24 hours, the coin was in the hands of experts at PCGS, where it underwent the most rigorous authentication process ever conducted on a modern United States coin. Teams of specialists examined every aspect of the coin. Metallurgists used X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy and mass spectrometry to analyze the composition, discovering gold content of approximately 12%, platinum content of approximately 8%, rhodium content of approximately 3%, and trace amounts of rare earth elements including neodymium and europium. Dye specialists studied the striking characteristics under high-powered microscopy, confirming that the misalignment and rotation were genuine and resulted from a mechanical malfunction rather than any post-mint manipulation. Numismatic historians researched mint records and interviewed current and former employees to piece together how such an error could have occurred. The authentication process took nearly 3 weeks, an unusually long time, because the experts wanted to be absolutely certain before they certified what could potentially be the most valuable modern coin ever discovered. When PCGS finally issued their certification, the numismatic community exploded with excitement. The coin was assigned a special designation acknowledging its unique status, encapsulated in a custom holder with enhanced security features, and insured for an amount that made international headlines. The college student who found it suddenly found himself at the center of a media frenzy, with interview requests pouring in from news outlets around the world, offers from wealthy collectors willing to pay astronomical sums, and advice from financial planners, lawyers, and coin experts, all trying to help him navigate this life-changing discovery. After careful consideration and consultation with top numismatic advisors, he decided to sell the coin at auction, and what followed was one of the most dramatic and exciting auction events in the history of coin collecting. The auction house chosen to handle the sale was one of the most prestigious in the world, a firm with decades of experience in handling rare and valuable numismatic material, and they pulled out all the stops to promote this once-in-a-lifetime offering. A lavish catalog was produced, featuring professional photography that captured every detail of the coin's extraordinary characteristics, essays by leading numismatic scholars explaining the historical significance and technical aspects of the errors, and estimates suggesting the coin could sell for anywhere from $100 million to $500 million or more. Pre-auction viewings were held in major cities across the United States and internationally, allowing serious potential bidders to examine the coin in person under controlled conditions. The buzz surrounding the auction was unprecedented, with speculation running wild about who might ultimately purchase the coin and how high the final price might climb. Auction day arrived, and the room was filled with an atmosphere of anticipation and excitement that was almost palpable. Bidders were present representing private collectors, investment groups, museums, and even some foreign governments interested in acquiring this piece of American numismatic history. The auctioneer, a veteran of countless major coin auctions, could barely contain his own excitement as he prepared to offer the lot. Bidding opened at $10 million, an amount that would already have made this one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. But within seconds, the price had rocketed past $50 million, then $100 million, then $200 million. The room erupted in gasps and applause as the bidding continued to climb, with each new bid bringing the price to levels that seemed almost incomprehensible. At $300 million, some bidders dropped out, but others continued to compete fiercely. At $400 million, the tension was unbearable, with only 3 bidders remaining in the contest. At $500 million, it became a two-way battle between an anonymous phone bidder and a representative of a major museum consortium. The final moments of the auction seemed to stretch out in slow motion, with the auctioneer calling for additional bids as the 2 remaining competitors pushed the price higher and higher. $510 million, $520 million, $530 million, $540 million, $550 million, $560 million, and finally, after what seemed like an eternity of escalating bids, the hammer fell at an astounding $570 million, establishing a new world record not just for modern United States coinage, but for any coin minted in the 21st century. The room erupted in thunderous applause, with even competing bidders acknowledging the historic nature of what they had just witnessed. The winning bidder, whose identity remains confidential, had just acquired the most valuable $250 in existence, and the college student who had found it in his laundry quarters had just become wealthier than he had ever imagined possible. But the story doesn't end there, and this is the part that should have you examining every single quarter from 2022 that you encounter. Metallurgical analysis and production records suggest that between 4 and 12 of these error coins were struck before the mint discovered the problem and halted production. That means there are potentially 11 more of these $570 million coins somewhere out there in the world, possibly in circulation, possibly in someone's collection, possibly sitting unnoticed in a drawer or jar of change. The mint conducted an extensive recovery effort, managing to locate and destroy several of the error coins before they entered circulation, but they were unable to account for all of them, and the ones that escaped their recovery efforts are now the subjects of the most intensive treasure hunt in modern numismatic history.